We are seeing another red day in the markets. The crypto scam pump, well, that came and went. Thanks a lot, Kathy Wood, for that one. We'll be discussing all of that, the Fed Beige Book, which no one else really cares about, and more today on Money Never Sleeps.
Thanks, Kathy, you son of a.
Welcome back, everybody. As we get going, smash the hell out of that like button, subscribe to our channel. Nothing that Kevin or I say is financial advice. We're not financial advisors. Please do your own research before making any buys or sells. Kev, we got some news a little bit ago that ARK was applying for an ETH ETF. That sent a very quick spike up in the price of all crypto tokens, which immediately got sold back down. This is a sell the news, sell the news, sell the news kind of market right now. Nothing is driving the price up. Okay. Like every single time, it's just an opportunity for people with big holdings to get out at a better price. And it's been this way for months now in crypto. That's part of why we're crab walking here, is like something potentially bullish is being dropped on us, and then immediately people with big holdings are selling. So once again, exercise patience, everyone. If you're bearish, just be patient, okay? What are you looking at though, Kev? From a broader sense beyond the Kathy Wood shenanigans.
Yeah, other than that, crypto was actually on a pretty good trend this morning. Looked like it was going to break, test that 25,280. We'll talk about that later when we get into Bitcoin. But keep an eye on a lot of altcoins and the market caps. Where they've been closing on the daily has been really important. I don't think a lot of people are talking about that, so keep an eye on that. And then some of the news that we got out of Europe today was pretty interesting. Germany saw some bad numbers, a lot worse than expected. And then you're getting Poland, who's already cutting rates at 10% inflation. So that doesn't make sense. But it seems like for the most part, inflation is not just a domestic issue, it's a global issue. And it's not necessarily something that you want to see, anticipating that we're going into a bull run.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the dollar continues to show strength. It is, it wicked up over 105, bounced off of that, but is still holding strong. Volatility index here for the US was at almost 15 and a half, back down to 14.6 now. I think we still have a long way to go there. I still believe we're going to see that hit a higher number. Let's talk about the Fed Beige Book for a second, because that is, we get that 8 times a year. And today was one of those days. It discussed July and August. And what I'm seeing from there, first, a few things. Consumer spending on tourism continued to be strong. However, it was the belief of most of the respondents to that we will see that begin to wane. It's kind of like the end of the pent up spending on travel from the shutdowns. Also, continued slowdown in discretionary spending. You and I have been all over that for a while now. There are certain stocks that will absolutely hurt. Being defensive at this point in your portfolio, I strongly believe will pay off in the months ahead. This is also not good. Consumer loan balances and defaults are beginning to rise across the country. We're seeing that home prices, are not slowing down. It's still tough. Even with all the new builds, financing is still tough, right? Like interest rates are still high to borrow money. So yeah, you don't need to spend yes, you can build a home, but unless you have the money to buy everything up front, you're still having to borrow to do it. And that ain't cheap. We're seeing, people's shelter cost as a percentage of their income is at a multi-decade high. Like the people out there who are like, I can't believe there are bears. How could you be bearish? You must hate everything, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, man. I think some of these people need to maybe get their head out of the sand, or their ass, or both, and take a look at like the bigger picture beyond just a little tiny bubble they've put themselves in, because so much of the news out there is not good. And it does seem like what the Fed wants to see happen with slowdowns in employment, with spending coming down to help with inflation is working. And that's great, but it's going to lead to pain in the short term. Like it just has to. This does not this cannot just be like a super smooth, like, yep, everything's fine and dandy. Defaults are rising, consumer savings accounts are down near zero. Credit is out of control. Borrowing is insanely expensive. Credit card payments are 25% interest. Student loans are coming back. Like all of these things cannot happen simultaneously and everything just be peaches and cream. Okay. So I think like it's mind numbing to me to see so many people being like, yeah, no, you don't need to worry about the macro. It's no big deal. Like that is just asinine.
Yeah, man. That's I'm not one to put anyone down, even if they are bullish and stuff like that. It's like what you do with your money is your thing. But there definitely are some people that they prefer their own sandy cheeks. And that's where they're keeping their head right now, a little bit in the, a little bit in the butt. But I think that right now what we're getting confused is the reality of the situation where there's not a lot of money flowing out. Right, we're in a bit of a liquidity crunch globally, both retail investors and then people who just aren't necessarily in the market itself, right? We're seeing that unemployment's rising. We're seeing unemployment rise in different parts of the world. At the same time, wages are going down in some parts of the world. And we're seeing, economies slow down and inflation go up. It's a terrible situation what we're in. That doesn't mean just because all that, I mean, there's all that we need to keep in mind, but then there's just the bullish headlines, right? All these ETFs, everything like that. That's good news for the next cycle. Just because there's good news out there for the markets doesn't mean that the world outside of the markets is in a good place, and that's where we are right now. I don't have faith in the consumer right now. I don't have faith in a lot of things, institutions. I think we've notoriously called bullshit on a lot of things on this show, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing to be doing. Right? It doesn't make you a bad person if you're questioning the things in this world that don't make sense, that are not adding up. I mean, I posted a tweet today, a quote from The Big Short, and it talked about all the revisions from job openings that they had put out this year, and the difference was like 300,000 jobs. All right, so here's the thing. I think that we are being manipulated consistently. I think that sure, some people will try and defend their position that everything's doing okay. They'll use, the ETFs. They'll use, BlackRock. These huge talking points that talking heads are telling them to pretty much be bullish on. But when we look at where the money's flowing in and out of, that's the giveaway. Follow the money, not what they're saying.
Yeah, Chris Hoddle. Welcome everybody. Chris, Randy, Mr. House, GM. Thanks for being here. But a good point here from Chris. You got hurricane season, you got the macro, we got all the the political shenanigans happening right now. It's set up for a lot of chaos. Like we got in the latest inflation data next week. Chris continuing to dive in here. I'm trying to understand what he's saying. Sorry for the pause there as I'm reading and contemplating deep thoughts.
Can't read.
Chris Hoddle. I can't read. Okay.
Can't read.
Let's get back on track a little bit. What else are we seeing right now? I just recap the Beige Book. The markets, we had a little bit more info around the ARM IPO yesterday that we could discuss. It looks like they're going to be raising around $5 billion, about half of what was originally expected, but that's due to the fact that SoftBank wants to have as much of it as possible. Like it looks like they're going to have like 90% of the shares, which is not the most fun place to be personally, having SoftBank owning that many of the shares. Target price is around $47 to $51 per share for the IPO. I'm still unsure of how I want to do this because I do believe that ARM is a good company. I just don't know if I want to get involved in an IPO right now.
I don't think I don't think those doubts are unwarranted. I think that's pretty smart considering what the charts that we looked at when we're looking at major IPOs in the past few years. Again, the ones that did extremely well were put in times of, not as much distress. They're pretty much, the market was already bottomed by some of those points where the IPOs were introduced. I think right now what we're seeing, sell the news event, wouldn't be surprised that they just sell the shit out of it on the open. Don't get me wrong. I think it's probably a great buy when it does bottom. It's probably going to take off going forward.
So That's what I was leaning towards. Is it wouldn't surprise me if we saw it IPO in that $47 to $51 a share range. I would be a buyer at like maybe start buying at like 30 or even 20, like maybe add some more at 25. Like I think it wouldn't shock me if a few months after the IPO we see it, hang churning around 30, 25, maybe even 20 a share, because it is a sell every opportunity, right? Like that does not just apply to crypto. That absolutely is applying to TradFi at the moment. And if these, I don't trust a lot of these people. Okay. Like I don't think that's an unwarranted feeling either. So to think that they're going to have that many shares, and with how bad SoftBank has gotten beaten up, like their vision fund has gotten absolutely wrecked over the last year and a half. And if they have a chance to come out ahead on something, I think they're going to take that opportunity and they're going to dump some of those shares, and retail is going to be left holding the bag thinking, oh, and it's also getting so much hype on Bloomberg, like the biggest IPO in years. This will bring back the IPO boom. I'm just like, what are you guys up to? Like, I don't know. Are you working for SoftBank? Like, are you on the payroll there? Because I don't trust it.
Yeah, trust no one right now. Again, there's a reason why I said we're in the fucking red zone, right? We'll talk about that when we look at ETH's chart and everything like that. But right now, I think everyone's being paid by someone. Again, that's not us. We're outsiders. If we do this, we don't even need this to be doing this. We could survive just trading on our own. But yeah, man, Bloomberg, they love to push shit, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, how could this fucking possibly have happened? I feel like this happens all the time. We could look back at 2008. There's a great compilation of the week that the market fucking collapsed. Take a watch that along with Inside Job and The Big Short. But yeah, IPO boom going into what looks like a downtrend for the market. Get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry, but I think that there's likely going to be more downside before there's a lot of organic upside for ARM most likely.
Yep. All right, let's get into some of the charts now.
Let's do the dollar real quick.
Yep, let's start with the dollar. Let's get into Bitcoin. Let's look at ETH. I know there are a few structures on there you want to discuss.
Definitely. So again, you guys know that's
strong as shit.
Strong dollar economics. That's what I've been saying for months, dude. We're probably going to retest this 105.651. This was the key level for me. We didn't get there, last time we got rejected clearly, and it just brought us down further into this bull flag. But I think we've surely broken out of this now. Again, I'm just being confident here. And there's a couple of factors that have been playing into this, but we're just going to take a look at this on the weekly. It's completely overbought. Doesn't mean that it can't just break up to, shoot up here and test it, especially if we get that CPI data and it comes back hot. That's going to bring it above 105.65, or it could just be a slow, just grind up too. We have to keep in mind. The daily pulled back pretty significantly and on the stochastic RSI, but it's still pushed up. And if we look at the monthly, we're still primed for some push to the upside, right? I'm not saying we'll necessarily reach 114 where we did earlier, but there's a good there's a good chance that we could get a double top, right? It's not my focus right now. I think breaking 105.6 is going to be most important, and then we'll keep an eye on this 107 to 109 range on the monthly. So again, I do think that the dollar will pull back if they start cutting rates. It just seems like it always happens. The market's absolutely reversed. It just shows that there's quantitative easing, which would be good for the dollar. But right now, let's keep an eye on this 105.65 level. We hit 105 earlier today. Market's it's definitely gonna pull back a little bit, most likely once we get to this overbought period. But again, if we stay above this 200 to end the 50, it looks like we're gonna get a golden cross on the next 2 days. It's a pretty good sign that we're in a pretty good move to the upside. So keep an eye on the dollar with this. I do want to talk about the dollar and the Japanese yen, because this is a huge reason why the dollar's pushing up its strength against the yen. Japan's not doing anything with their inflation. Bank of Japan is absolutely, I think, dropping the ball on this, and this is why the dollar is so much stronger than the yen. It's helping the DXY push up. But again, this is the problem. We still have to keep in mind this yen carry trade. I talked about this a while ago. We did an episode on it. If Japan decides to raise rates and they start selling off a lot of the treasuries, this is going to hurt the dollar. So we have to keep that in mind as well. We saw that. I'm going to pull up this real quick too, because this is what has been happening in China. It hasn't been really publicized too much in the news anywhere because we're fucking focusing on ETFs that are never going to come to fruition this year. But China's likely to cut more U.S. debt holdings. We're currently at Let me see if I can find it. $835.4 billion at the end of June, and it's down 11.3 billion from May. So they have been absolutely decreasing. They were, number two or number, I can't remember number two or number three. No, I believe they were number two for US debt holdings. Japan was number one. And we can see that they're already decreasing. We know that there's a lot of shit going on in China right now that they are pretty scared about. Again, that's why we're seeing a lot of data not necessarily coming out of China as much as it once was. But this is not a good thing. So if China feels pressure right now, if Japan starts to feel the pressure, it's a good chance that they can start raising rates, trying to bring the strength of the dollar back in Japan. Necessarily, that could bring the US dollar down. So let's keep an eye on that. Nothing to get into too much right now, but if we do start to see a lot of more countries facing hardship, that's something that we have to keep in mind. So that was the dollar. Let's talk about, should we do Bitcoin?
Let's do Bitcoin.
All right, perfect. Let's do Bitcoin. Yeah, what a pump, right? Off a fucking ETF that's probably not going to come to fruition. But at least not soon, right? I think Gary Gensler's still icing his balls from getting kicked from the grayscale loss. Again, they haven't even reappealed or appealed for it, so we don't know how that's going to play out. But this is Bitcoin in a nutshell. This is where we are. We're below the 50 and the 200 on the daily, right? And we didn't test. We were going to test this level down here, right? Around 250 or 25,280. That was the level that we bounced off significantly. We went down there, but we didn't get it. We didn't hit it. And that just tells me that they are trying to keep this price from going below there. And again, I think a lot of that was the timing for that ETH application today was perfect because it shot the price up right when there was over, I think, $115 million worth of liquidations, as we saw a lot of red going into, this afternoon in the crypto market. So there's a lot of things there on the downtrend, right? I mean, Bitcoin got down to about 25.3. I mean, that's a pretty good move considering that, we were up here a few days ago, 28,133. So yeah, so we're in a place where, okay, there's people that want this price to stay up. We have to keep an eye on that. I said that we need to keep an eye on this 25,284 level. This is going to be important because if you break below this, we're moving down, guys. We're going down to probably 23,629 to maybe 22,9 or something like that, I would say. Which would be right around somewhere around here. Yeah, right down here. But I think honestly, 23,629 is the target to keep an eye on. The one thing I do want to keep an eye on too is over the next few days, you're going to probably get a death cross with Bitcoin. We haven't gotten it yet. We've gotten some other ones that we need to talk about, but for Bitcoin, we're not in necessarily a bullish state of play. We're below the 200 and the 50 on the daily. We're below the 50 on the weekly. If we start hitting this level down here, this 23,629, we're going to be below the 200, which means that the weekly is going to come with it. And, I'm not going to say game over because, again, I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but it looks like we're trending to the downside at that point, right? The last time that we got a weekly death cross for Bitcoin was roughly, I don't even think I have the fucking data for that. I don't think we've ever gotten we haven't seen it, probably not in some time. Yeah, it's I don't have the data for right here on this chart, but yeah, we haven't seen it in a long time. So I mean, I'm sure that when it does happen, it's not necessarily going to be the greatest, the most bullish catalyst, right? So we'll keep an eye on that. But Bitcoin, nothing's really changed here. We're seeing liquidations up and down. Structure hasn't been broken yet, and again, we broke out of this parallel channel, so I do believe that we are going to have to come down. Let's keep an eye on this 25.28 level. That's important. Okay, so let's go to the total market cap, and then we'll go to ETH BNB. Because I do want to show this. So this is the total market cap, right, on the weekly. Cool, right? Nothing's changed. This pattern played out perfectly. We're below the 200 EMA, so this 50 is going to cross with this 200 right here. Coming weeks, as long as we keep closing below this 200 EMA. I didn't notice this one. Do you know what that is right there?
What is that?
That's that's a death cross.
I love that.
I know you do. Yeah, so that means that on the daily we're in a bearish state of play for the total market cap, right? No one said this. So let me just make sense of this. We're in a parallel channel that's a bear flag. We put in a head and shoulders. On the daily, the 50 and the 200 just crossed, and we got rejected off the 200 and the 50 up here to prevent it from crossing. And if we look at the weekly, that 50 and the 200 look like they're going to be intersecting over the next few weeks, right? And again, this parallel channel still stands. And if we look at the monthly, stochastic RSI, we're completely overbought. And this is for the total crypto market cap. Sorry, guys, I don't see it. I don't see a world where any of this is fucking sunshine and rainbows. I think that we need to be realistic here. Again, we're at 1.019, and that level that we said that we have to close above to keep support is 1.024 trillion. We're below it. We're below that right now. And again, this is the monthly. I honestly think that we've lost the 50 moving average on the monthly, which isn't a great sign either. We're just losing everything. We're finding everything as resistance. This is not something that we need to be that we want to see in a bull market. Again, if you're in a bull market, you're breaking above those. You're finding support on everything. You're finding resistance on nothing. Here, I think that we are going to break down from this parallel channel. Again, how low can we go? Anyone's guess at this point, right? We have to think that the origin of this channel would be most likely, but that's only 734 billion. But we also see that there's not a ton of support down here. So probably maybe somewhere around here, 628 billion to maybe 534 billion. Keep an eye on that. I'm not saying it's going to, stay down there long. I don't think that it's going to be, a market that's going to hold there or dip down there right away. I think it could play out over a period of time as alts bleed, but it's not necessarily a great setup. And, we have to keep that in mind. If we look at total market cap for all three or total three, you can see that, we're closing the monthly under the 50 moving average already. And again, the stochastic RSI means nothing. The volumes are coming down. Everything seems like it's dying for alts. Again, we're below the 50 moving average and the 200 here on the daily. If you look at the weekly, that death cross is coming. I mean, I'm going to be playing that video very fucking soon. I have a funny feeling. As long as we keep closing below this 50 and this 200, this is not a bullish setup. And again, I said that September is the red zone, and there's a reason why, and that's why we're going to look at Ethereum right now, and that's because of exactly the games that we're seeing played, right? So we got that ARC information that came out, and we saw that ETH's price shot up, not an insane amount, right? It shot up enough, but it went up to about $1,669. It's currently trading at $1,630. It's down about $3.60 since the open of today. But we were talking about tons of supply coming out to these exchanges, right? We had $250 million worth of ETH fly onto Coinbase recently. We saw, $75 million worth of ETH this morning. We kept seeing it this entire weekend. So my opinion, which doesn't mean much sometimes, is that this fucking market knew that this application was going to come in. They wanted to get out at a higher price. They couldn't push it up high enough, but they got out at enough, and that's why we saw the sell-off instantly with ETH, right? That's just my opinion. I think that's what we saw. Again, why the hell does ARK, announce that they're gonna apply for a spot ETH ETF, which is one of the hardest fucking things in the world to say. It's easier to say BTC ETF. ETH ETF is so hard for me. Why did they announce this now after $115 million worth of liquidations, right? And again, they know that they're not going to get approved. Nothing's going to get approved until most likely next year. They're trying to hold up this market. They're trying to get out of positions. They're trying to sell on people. I'm not saying ARK specifically, but they're definitely institutional players we have to keep in mind that are willing to do whatever it takes to make as much money as possible, because we're finding resistance. We're not finding support on anything. There's a reason why we don't want to go below 25.28, because there's a good chance that if we go below that, we're not coming back for some time. So I think that they're trying to get out of their positions, and it's no different than what we're seeing in TradFi today. We were down 330 in the Dow at one point, and they bought it pretty much back up. Right now it's at 172 down. People are trying to buy it back, but every time we get news, every rally, they're just selling it. So we have to keep that in mind. And they sold the rally today after we got the ARK news, or the ETF news on ETH. You can see where it shot up, right? Shot up, right back down. We're trading, right at the 50 moving average. To be honest with you, the reason I think that they sold it is because they knew that the price was going down. And we've been talking about this for some time.
Yeah, it's so ugly on the daily. Like, nothing about this. I don't know what looking at this, instills confidence.
It's just bullet way. I'm sorry. I mean, you could say, yeah, you're in a parallel channel to the downside, right? But yeah, you didn't even get rejected up here from the 50 and the 200. You couldn't even make it up there. There was no you had no price strength, no strength in the price to push it up there, and it's still the death cross happened. You got a bearish engulfing candle, and now you're just sideways trading. To be honest, this is no different.
Real quick. It's really funny to me that as we are hosting this show, showing charts, discussing the macro, trying to give a nuanced take to why like this is bearish and you should be patient and wait for better entries. We got Kaleo over on Twitter with a bunch of NFT people running a space called We're So Back. And like, just, I think we know better. I think we're going to survive this market and come out ahead of those people. But it once again it's more reason for me to feel the same way I do. Fade the public. Like if, way more people are listening to that space than are watching this one. And I'm okay with that because I think that we're going to give better information and the people watching this show are going to come out far better than the people who are getting fed all of this bullish bullshit.
Yeah, man. Again, I have no hate for anyone that's bullish, but my problem is more how people will pretty much lie and just they have such huge followings to the point where people just listen to them because like if you're just getting into crypto and you go to, I'm not going to say his name or anyone like that, but you go to these people that are shilling these coins because the news is bullish again, not that the macroeconomic you know the state of it doesn't matter, right?
Nothing matters.
These death crosses don't matter, right? Exactly. Number go up. That's all that matters. I mean, fuck. Institutions can't take enough Viagra to keep this fucking market up. It's an absolute shit show. This thing is likely to go down further, and we're just at the beginning of it. We have not yet seen the big come down. It's on the way, but ETH right here again. I don't see this as bullish. Again, this is a parallel channel. Maybe we get a bit of a pump up. Maybe we haven't seen a lot of. I mean, unless Kathy fucking puts out a Solana ETF, I don't fucking know what's next. I don't necessarily see that happening. Again, we went above the 50-move average on the 4-hourly. We came below it. We got to go to 1541. That's my next target for ETH. Again, I don't have any money in ETH, so I'm not giving you financial advice. I just see the level of support down there that we have to go back to from Evergrande's. I think that honestly, though, 1463 is a level that we are due to retest. And, if that tends to be the case, then I think a lot of people are going to be upset. We might not be might not be having these spaces over so back. We might be having support groups. But yeah, this is what it is with ETH. You couldn't shoot up on this news. The news meant nothing. They sold the fuck out of it as soon as they came out. The price went up. Maybe people are accumulating, sure. Maybe institutions are accumulating, sure. I don't know if you guys watch Cheeky Crypto, they're a really good YouTube channel. Great with Elliott Wave theory. They have a service where they count the number of wallets that whales have. You see that Bitcoin wallets are going down from people who have over 1,000 Bitcoin in their wallets. There's a reason why. They're probably offloading. And again, they were doing the same thing at FTX. I don't see this as sustainable. Again, I don't believe retail is going to be able to sustain holding up the price. It's going to be more of like an Atlas shrugged. Everything's just going to absolutely go under. People are going to walk away, and then the market's going to have to find the bottom somewhere or another. But for ETH, I don't know, not bullish looking at that one bit. The last thing I want to talk about, though, is Binance, because this is one that I tweeted about. And again, there's a reason why I said that this was a scam pump, and it really was. It fucking shot up insane with this ARK news. It went all the way up to 218.8. I said that, we have to stay within this blue range here. We went right to it and we got rejected. Now we're at 214.8. We're up about 20 cents on the day. But, that kind of just made this chart fit even better, right? This is wave one. This is our wave two. I honestly expect a wave three to come down, and I think it's going to break $200. That's just my opinion. Again, you guys know that I do have skin in the game on Binance. That's my only short position at the time for crypto. But I do think that this is unsustainable. And, we got saved a bit on the ETF news, but it came right back down, and we're finding resistance once again. If we start finding this as resistance and we can't break above it, I mean, we broke above it once, it came right back down. We were able to break above it every single time, right? Every single time in the past that we've been below this level. So seeing where we are now, we're not breaking above it. Again, I'm going to give it time because you never want to get ahead of yourself. But I think that this is going to be the next drop. It's probably going to come down. There's not a lot of support under here, guys. So if it goes down, there's a good chance that it goes down significantly. I got 149 down here in this range for the end of the wave 5. I don't know if it's going to go down there. Again, there's not much support. So I'm trying my best to see, where maybe there's a bit of support on like maybe the daily or the weekly back from like 2020, 2021. But here it's it's kind of weak. I think it looks very heavy. Again, watch out for whale games. Manipulation. It's very possible. More Binance people walked off the job. I think the past week, 3 people, 3 heads. I think a lot of people are tired of the Binance FUD. And again, I understand that. Why do you want to FUD, Binance all the time? It's not necessarily FUD if you're bringing up facts that the company has admittedly, acted upon. We know that they commingled user funds back in January of this year, post FTX. That's my biggest concern with them. I think that was absolutely insane that they pretty much swapped $1 billion worth of user funds to prop up the market, and then they put the money back once they had the funds. That's my biggest problem with Binance. I know there's other concerns that the U.S. government has, but let's not get this confused. If Binance goes under, yeah, market's going to drop considerably, right? Doesn't mean it's the end of crypto. That's something that we have to stop. We have to stop telling ourselves this story. Crypto marches on regardless. There's going to be other people in the space that are going to come in, become centralized exchanges. Hopefully, I'm not saying I like regulation or anything like that, but if there is regulation, it might be easier for some of these exchanges to have more credibility. We won't see as many defaults as we have in the past. Again, I think DeFi is the other thing too, right? We'll see DEXs, start to increase in volume. We saw, Uniswap's been having pretty great year compared to Coinbase. Coinbase is probably going to be the number 1. It seems like that way. But yeah, we can't give up on crypto, even though it seems like everything's bearish. I don't want Binance to go down because I want fucking everything to go down completely. I just see that they've made a lot of mistakes, and I don't trust their way of business. And I think that a lot of people don't too. And I think the U.S. government definitely has an agenda against them, whether they're right or not. Doesn't seem like it's going to be that this price is going to hold up much longer. Again, I think there's a reason why I put September, that first thumbnail we did. We put CZ on there. I think this is the month where we start to see some heat with Binance. Again, that's maybe a conviction bet. Who knows? I'm not telling you what to do with your positions, but I definitely think that the fucking burner's on and the eggs are hard boiled.
Okay. I think we're going to leave it right there to wrap up the day. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us. Chris, Mr. House, Randy, everyone else who watched. Appreciate it. Once again, if you have not yet, hit those buttons down below. Like, subscribe, drop a comment, share us out on social media if you enjoyed this show. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, looking at the latest in the markets, seeing how the volatility plays out. Right now, it's looking like TradFi is going to close down, a modest amount on the day. We'll see what happens with crypto, but it was a great one as always. Appreciate you guys, and we'll be back tomorrow. Have an awesome day. See you next time.
Take care, everyone.